beautiful and amazing designers, welcome back to the channel. And you guys, we made it to episode 2 on my series, and yeah, episode 2 is on how I was able to make this beautiful shirt dress for myself. So if you've clicked on this video, you want to see how I was able to make it, so welcome. People that don't know what is happening, in case you're confused, why does this video title have episode 2 on it, and episode 2 she's creating a shirt dress? Now, in a very short period of time, I'm going to explain what all those things are all about, but before then, let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Vivian Okeke. I am a seamstress based in Abuja, and Abuja is in Nigeria. Now, on my vlogs, I said something about creating outfits for myself as a Christmas gift from me to me. Now, I said I was even going to create 10 outfits or even more than 10, but I had less time and I was only able to make 4 a reality. So I am bringing 4 videos to you, and this is the episode 2 based on that purpose. Now, episode 2 is going to be us creating a shirt dress together, and this shirt dress has a matching wide leg palazzo, which is my episode 1. So if you want to also create a matching wide leg palazzo, just go click on episode 1 and you have that covered. Now let's get into what this particular shirt dress is going to look like. Now, this shirt dress has a slit on the sides, has a button and the button band, and then a long sleeve. That is just it, very simple. And making this shirt dress is really easy. That is why I've also included the measurement you need to making this, and also my explanation on how to make this is going to be really simple. So you guys, without no further or too much talk, let us get into the video. I'm just going to start off by showing you guys how I was able to create the pattern for my shirt dress. Now, the first thing I will be marking on the pattern paper is the length, and the length I will be using is 32 inches. Now, along the line, I increased the length by 8 inches, but you guys will get to see that as we go along in the video. So if you don't have a pattern paper, like I always say, just go ahead and fold your fabric into 2 and then mark your length along with me. And I'm just going to cut out the excess pattern paper. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is mark my button band, the allowance for the button band, and the allowance I'll be marking is 3 inches. Now, this 3 inches I'm marking here is for the button band, and this button band is going to sit on the front piece only. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark the 3 inches from the top of the pattern to where the length is, and then I will demarcate this with a straight line so we can go ahead and mark our actual measurements. And you guys, this pattern I am marking right now is going to be for the front and the back, and I will be showing you guys how this is going to be possible. So this is for the button band, and this is the center front line. So let's go ahead and mark the shoulder measurements. Now, after button band, I'm just going to go ahead and divide my shoulder by 2. My shoulder measurement is 16. 16 divided by 2 gives you 8 inches. So I'm marking down 8 inches here. And then I'll go down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. So I'm just dropping down my shoulder by 1 inch. And then I'll connect this to the center front, that's the neckline. So I'm just going to use my small ruler to connect this to the neckline. Now, from the slope, I'm just going to go ahead and mark my armhole. And then to do this, I have to divide my round armhole by 2. And then I'll mark it down from the slope. My round armhole is 16. 16 divided by 2 gives you 8 inches. So marking down 8 inches here. And I'll go ahead and confirm if the shoulder measurement I marked is the same measurement I have on the armhole line. So I'll place the tape and confirm. And as you can see, I have 8 inches, so this is correct. Now I'm just going to go ahead and connect the armhole point to the slope with a straight line like this. And I also rule an horizontal line, and this is where the armhole will be sitting. Next in line is for me to mark my bust point. So I'll place the tape from the top of the pattern down and mark my bust point, which is 10.5 inches. So go ahead and find out what your bust point is from the measurement on the screen and mark this down. The next point I'll be marking is the hip. So I'll place the tape and mark my hip point, and my hip point is 25 inches from my shoulder. You know that I would do it, so don't test me. Looking sexy, you bring out the best me, they gon' copy. Shouting you the best I've ever had by far. So I'ma treat you better than your last by far. No matter what you do, ain't nobody tell. And you guys, these are the measurements we need for this project. So let's go ahead and mark our round measurements. The first one I'll be marking is my bust point. I'll divide my round bust by 4, and then I'll mark this down on the bust line. Beginners, this is for you, so make sure you're paying close attention to what I'm doing. Now I have my bust, my round bust here. I'll go ahead and connect the line to the armhole like this. I'll take it up to the armhole like this, and then now working on the armhole, I'll find the middle point on the armhole. I'll place the tape on the armhole like this. I'll divide this into 2 and mark the middle point, and the middle point of 8 inches is 4, so I'll mark 4 inches as my middle point. And from the middle point, I'm just going to go in by ½ an inch, and then I'll connect the ½ an inch to the armhole and also to the slope. Now you guys, what I just did here is how I create, or how you create your front armhole. So when you're drafting out your pattern, this is how you create your front armhole. And then to create your back armhole, you just go ahead and connect the middle point with the curve to the armhole point. I'm just going to use a red marker for this, so you guys know that the red marker is for the back armhole. Moving on, I'll go down to my hip point, and then I'll divide my round hip by 4. And my round hip divided by 4 is 10.5. I'll mark this down, and then I'll connect this straight to the bust line. So what I'll do now is I'll just take the line from the hip down to the length, and before I do that, I'm just going to mark the same measurement I marked on the hip, 10.5. I'll mark this on the length, and then I'll connect the point straight to the hip line. So 1.5 inch is the allowance I'll be using for the dress. I won't be adding any more allowance on the fabric. This is just the allowance I'm using for the dress, so that's why I'm adding it on the pattern. So you guys that always ask me about allowance, here you have it. I have enough allowance for this dress. Better than your last by far. No matter what you do, ain't nobody tell me shit about you. I really can't explain the things you do, but it makes me crazy over you. Now when I'm cutting this on my fabric, I'm just going to drop the armhole by either 1 inch or 1.5 inch. I'm just going to drop because I want the armhole point where the armhole is sitting, I want it to be wide. I want it to be very, very wide. So as in, I want it to be free at that point. So I'm just going to drop this down. Now guys, let's create the neckline. Now the neck width for both the front and the back piece is 3 inches. So that is what I'm using as my neck width. 3 inches is the neck width for both the front and the back pattern. For the back neck depth, I'll be using 1 inch as my back neck depth. I'll connect the 1 inch to the 3 inch neck width with a curve. And you guys, like I said, I'm using the red marker for the back. So when you see the red marker, you know this is for the back. And then I'll use the blue marker for the front. So now I'm just going to go ahead and mark the neck depth for the front piece, and this is 3 inches. So when you're drafting out your pattern or you're marking on your fabric, you should know that the neck width for both the front and the back is always the same, unless you're doing something stylish. And then, but the neck depth here can be different. 3 inches is my neck depth for the front, and 1 inch is my neck depth for the back. So I'll go ahead and extend the line to the allowance I left for the bottom band. And now I'll go ahead and cut out the back neckline, because on my fabric, I'll be cutting out the back piece first before I cut out the front piece. So I'll cut out the excess pattern I have, the excess paper I have that I don't need. and also cut out the back armhole. I'm not cutting out the front armhole, I'm cutting out the back armhole. And once I'm done cutting out the back piece on the fabric, I'll go ahead and cut out the front armhole and the front neckline on the pattern. So guys, I have my fabric folded into two here, and like I said, I want to cut the back piece first, so I'll go ahead and close in, or I'll fold in the allowance I left for my button band, so I can be able to cut out the back piece. So if you're doing this method like this with me, just go ahead and fold in your button band, fold it in so you can have your actual measurements like this, and then you can pin your pattern to your fabric, or you can use a heavy object like me. I'm using my books, and I'll go ahead and cut out my back piece. And I said I was going to add to the length, and I did just that. That is why it is looking longer than the pattern. And now I'm just going to cut out the 1/2 inch I talked about on the armhole. I'm just trimming the armhole, opening it up a little bit. And you guys, I added 8 inches to my length, so now I have 40 inches as the length of my shirt dress. I'll go ahead and cut out the front neckline on the pattern, and I'll also cut out the front armhole on the pattern. So if you're actually using a fabric to do this, not a pattern, I would advise you watch first and then come back again, and this time around you know exactly what to do at the point where you know I am cutting out my back piece and my front piece. You will know how to do that. So now I'm just going to go ahead and place my pattern on a folded fabric, and I'll place my book as usual and cut out the front piece. You guys, take your time. Beginners, just take your time and follow the steps gradually and carefully, and trust me, you're going to get the same results. Guys, this is the front piece. Make sure your front piece is splitted into two. So right now, that's what I'm doing. I'm splitting the front piece into two. I'll just take up my pattern so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Okay, let me cut out the 1/2 inch on the armhole also. And now you guys, my front piece is splitted into two. So now let's work on the button band. So I have my interfacing cut out already, and the width of my interfacing is 1 inch. As you can see, is 1 inch. And the length of the interfacing, or how long it should be how long your shirt dress is. So whatever you have on your fabric, make sure that is the length you're using for your interfacing, and then the width should be 1 inch. Now I'm just going to make sure I place my interfacing on the neckline from the top of the neckline to the length of the shirt dress, and make sure you place this at the edge, and it sits really at the edge, and you just place it from the edge into the fabric, and then you go ahead and iron with your hot iron, and make sure that your interfacing sits tight on your fabric, like it is glued to your fabric. And fold this in like this. As you can see what I'm doing, I'm folding it in, and I'm just going to go ahead and iron this again so it lays flat. Now once you're done doing that, you go ahead and fold again. So now I have folded this in twice, so I'll go ahead and iron this so it lays flat also. So what I'm doing on this piece of the front piece, I'll go ahead and do on the second piece of the front piece. I'll do the same thing, and now we have exhausted the 3 inches allowance we left on the pattern for our button band. So as you can see, this is how it looks. Now I'll go ahead and sew 1 stitch on my button band, And you guys, you can decide to sew 2 stitch, and you can sew this here and then you can sew on the other side, but I will be sewing 1 stitch just to hold down the bottom band. And this is what I have. As you can see, this was neatly sewn and I like the result, I like the outcome. So this is how you practically create your button band. I have 1 stitch here and it is just holding down the button band, and this look pretty, guys. So what I'll do now is I'll place the 2 front pieces together like this, making sure the right side is facing me, and then I'll bring in my back piece and then I'll place this on the front piece so I can go sew the sides and the shoulder. So what I'm about to do now is join the back piece to the front piece. So on the side I'll be sewing by 1/2 and 1/4 inch. On the shoulder I'll be sewing by 1/4 inch. So you guys, I said that I was going to trim the length, and now I'm doing that. I reduced the length, I think, by 3 inches now, so it is not that long. I don't want it to be too long. So to create the slits on the sides, what I did is I placed the tape from the shoulder and I marked where I want the slits to start from. And once I had that figured out, I went in with my seam ripper to open this up from the length to where the slit is starting from. So I'll start from that point and I'll just keep losing this. And once I am done loosening that part, I'll just go interlock the starting point of the slit so it doesn't lose. And you guys, this is it. Now the next thing for us to do now is attach the sleeves. And so what I'll do right now, I'll place the tape on the armhole, and I got 10.5 inches, and this is going to enable me create my armhole on the sleeves. So you guys, if you want to see how I created the pattern for the sleeves, I have the video available in the description box below, so just go click and create a pattern for yourself. What I will do now is I'll bring out the fabric I'll be using for my sleeves, and this is it. Now my sleeve length is going to be 30 inches. And this is the second fabric for the sleeves. I'll just place them right side facing right side. And now I'll go ahead and place my pattern on the fabric like this so I can trace this out. Now because I don't want the sleeves to be smaller at the wrist, I want it to be wide at the wrist. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and trace this straight down from the armhole point. I'll trace this straight down to the sleeve length. So you at this point you can decide how you want your sleeves to look like. If you don't want to use mine, you don't want yours to look like mine, just go ahead and do what you want. Just make the shirt dress be how you want it to be. I am done tracing out the pattern on my fabric, and this is what I have. I'll just go ahead and fold this into the wrong side and go sew. So I'll just go ahead and sew this, and this is what I have. I'll flip this to the right side. And now this is my shirt dress. I'm just going to go ahead and attach the sleeve to the dress, and make sure that the points where you have sewn, that's the line that you have sewn on the sleeves and on the dress, sits together. And then you just join the sleeves to the armhole. So now to create the collar stand for my shirt dress, I'll go ahead and place the tape on the neckline so I can measure and find out how much fabric I need, or how much I need to cut out on my collar stand. And when I did that, I got 21.5 inches, and what I'll be cutting on my fabric is 22 inches. So this is my interfacing here, and to create my collar stand, I'm just going to go ahead and divide 22 inches by 2, and I have 11 inches. So this is what I'll be marking on my interfacing. So right now I'll just go ahead and fold my interfacing into 2 and make sure I get a close edge. And then from the close edge, I'll place my tape and mark 11 inches. So I decided to change the marker at this point because the red was not visible. Now I have that point. I'll go ahead and divide 11 inches by 2 to get the middle point on my collar stand. And the middle point is 5.5 inches. So I'm just going to mark the middle point. And from the point where I marked my 11 inches, I'll go up by 1 inch. That is how wide my collar stand is going to be anyways. I'll go up by 1 inch. I'll connect this. I'll draw a straight line at that point. And I'm just going to connect the 1 inch to the middle point. So I'll place the tip like this, connect it to the middle point. I'm connecting the 1 inch to the middle point. And now since I have that sorted out, what I'll do is I'll mark 1 inch on all these points like this. I'm just going to mark the width of my collar stand, and that is 1 inch. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark 1 inch like this. What I'll do now is I'll place my tape to confirm if this is still 11 inches. And as you can see, I still have 11 inches here. So I'll go ahead and cut out my collar stand. So this is how I always create my collar stand. And you can also create your collar like this. Like I have a video that shows you how to create your collar also, in case you want to use collar instead of a collar stand, or you want to use both. I have a video. I'll be putting the video on the description box below. So if you want to create a collar with a collar stand, just click on the link on the description box below. So now I have my interfacing ready. I'm just going to place this on the fabric and cut. When I'm cutting out the fabric around my collar stand, I'm just going to make sure I leave half an inch round the interfacing. So as I'm about to cut out the interfacing, the fabric on the interfacing, I'm just going to leave half an inch round. So make sure you leave half inch round the interfacing. And once I'm done doing that, I'm going to duplicate this. I'm just going to cut out another piece of fabric that looks exactly like this one I just cut out. The same allowance, the same half inch allowance all around. I'm just going to go ahead and just duplicate what I have on my first fabric. And now right now I have 2 fabrics here, so I'm just going to go ahead and sew on it like this. And make sure when you're sewing, make sure you sew very close to the interfacing. I'll sew on the sides also. And once I was done, this is what I have. I'm just going to flip this to the right side. And I'll go in with my iron to make sure it lays flat. So once I was done, the next thing I have to do now is fold in the half inch allowance we have left on the base of the collar stand. I'm just going to fold this in like this, just exactly as I'm doing it. That is how you should do it. Just fold in the half inch allowance on the fabric and go in with your hot iron to keep this in place. So I'll just keep doing this till I get to the end of the collar stand. And now I need to attach this to the shirt dress. I'll go ahead and fold my shirt dress into 2. That's the neckline. I want to get the middle point. So now I have the middle point. I'll notch this with my scissors. And I'll also be marking the middle point on the collar stand. So I'll go ahead and fold it into 2 so I can know the middle point. And then I'll mark the middle point. What I'll do next is I'll place the middle point of the shirt dress between the collar stand. Make sure it sits on the middle point also. So I'll place it between the collar stand. I'll go top stitch on it, like I'll sew on it. So I'll sew on the collar stand to hold the shirt dress and the collar stand together. And you guys, that is it for this video. So this is the second thing I created for myself, a matching shirt dress, and this also have like a matching palazzo. So in case you want to make the both of them together, I have the episode 1 ready for you to watch. So just go click on the link on the description box. I'll be leaving all the links, so in case you want to create them for yourself, just go click and you are good to go. You guys, thank you a lot for watching the episode 2. I hope you guys like the video, and make sure you engage. You guys like my video, share, comment, and if you're not subscribed, if you're new, just go ahead and subscribe. This is the channel for you, and I'm sure you will love it here. Thank you so much, you guys. I'll be seeing you on my next episode. Bye.